In the bustling city of Lagos, where skyscrapers gleamed in the sun and the ocean breeze carried whispers of old tales, there lived a young man named Obinna. He was known for his kindness and his deep love for Adaeze, the most beautiful woman in all of Lagos. Adaeze was not just beautiful but also wise beyond her years, with eyes that sparkled like the stars in the African night sky. Obinna and Adaeze's love story began in a small cafe tucked away in a corner of Victoria Island. It was there, amidst the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the soft strains of traditional music, that their hearts intertwined like the roots of an ancient baobab tree. They would spend hours talking about their dreams and aspirations, sharing laughter and tears, forging a bond that seemed destined by the gods themselves. One evening, under the crimson hues of a Lagos sunset, Obinna knelt before Adaeze beneath the sprawling branches of a silk cotton tree. With trembling hands, he presented her with a ring crafted from the rarest gold, its surface adorned with intricate carvings that told stories of their love. Adaeze, overcome with emotion, accepted his proposal, and they made a solemn vow to love and cherish each other for all eternity. Little did they know, their love would soon be tested by a tradition as old as the land itself. In the heart of Lagos elite circles, there existed a tradition known as the Blood Covenant. It was said to bind lovers together in a bond so strong that not even death could tear them apart. Legends whispered that those who performed the ritual would be forever entwined, their destinies intertwined like the threads of a Kent cloth. On a moonlit night, amidst the flickering shadows of an ancient shrine hidden deep within the city, Obinna and Adaeze stood hand in hand before the high priestess, adorned in robes woven with the feathers of sacred birds. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the murmurs of ancestral spirits. Obinna, the high priestess, spoke with a voice that resonated like distant thunder. "Do you vow to protect and cherish Adaeze, to love her with all your heart and soul until the end of days?" "I do," Obinna replied, his voice unwavering as he gazed into Adaeze's eyes, filled with a love that burned brighter than the fiercest wildfire. "And you, Adaeze?" The high priestess turned her piercing gaze towards the young woman. "Do you vow to stand by Obinna's side, to honor and respect him, to share in his joys and sorrows for all eternity?" "I do," Adaeze's voice rang out like the sweetest melody, her heart overflowing with a love so deep it touched the very essence of her being. With a nod from the high priestess, the ritual began. Ancient chants filled the night air as the high priestess drew a ceremonial knife, its blade gleaming silver in the moonlight. With practiced precision, she made a small incision on the palms of Obinna and Adaeze, allowing their blood to mingle and flow together, binding their souls in a union that transcended mortal existence. As the last echoes of the chants faded into the night, Obinna and Adaeze felt a sense of peace settle over them. They were now bound together not just by love but by a sacred covenant that would endure through the ages. For a time, Obinna and Adaeze's love blossomed like the vibrant flowers that adorned the gardens of Lagos. They built a life together filled with laughter and shared dreams, their days blending into a tapestry of joy and contentment. But fate, capricious as the wind that swept across the savannah, had other plans. One fateful night, as they strolled along the shores of Bar Beach beneath a blanket of stars, tragedy struck. A sudden storm brewed on the horizon, its thunderous roar echoing through the night. In a cruel twist of fate, a bolt of lightning struck the ground near where they stood, sending a jagged path of electricity through the air. Adaeze, caught in the path of the lightning, collapsed to the ground, her body limp and lifeless. Obinna's heart shattered into a million pieces as he cradled her in his arms, tears mingling with the rain that poured from the heavens above. "No, Adaeze," he cried out to the indifferent sky, his voice choked with grief. "Come back to me, my love. Please, come back." But no amount of tears could bring Adaeze back from the realm of the ancestors. She had been taken from him in the blink of an eye, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. In the days that followed Adaeze's untimely passing, Obinna wandered through life like a man adrift on the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. Everywhere he turned, he saw reminders of his beloved, in the gentle rustle of the palm trees, in the laughter of children playing in the streets, in the haunting melody of a traditional flute carried on the evening breeze. Grief weighed heavily on his shoulders, a shadow that followed him wherever he went. He withdrew from the world, seeking solace in the solitude of his thoughts. The vibrant colors of Lagos seemed muted, dulled by the ache in his heart. But amidst the darkness, a flicker of hope emerged. Ebere, a childhood friend of Obinna's who had always harbored a secret love for him, stepped forward to offer him comfort in his darkest hour. She was a woman of grace and kindness, with eyes that held a warmth reminiscent of the African sun at dawn. "Ebere," Obinna whispered, his voice barely a whisper as he looked into her eyes filled with concern and compassion. "I do not know how to go on without Adaeze. She was my everything." Ebere reached out and took his hand in hers, her touch gentle yet reassuring. "You do not have to go through this alone, Obinna," she said softly, her words a balm to his wounded soul. "I am here for you, now and always." And so, in the quiet moments that followed, Obinna found solace in Ebere's presence. She became his confidant, his anchor in the stormy seas of grief. Together, they navigated the treacherous waters of loss, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Little did they know, Adaeze's spirit lingered in the shadows, watching their every move with eyes filled with a mixture of longing and sorrow. Months turned into years, and Obinna and Ebere's bond deepened into a love that blossomed like the baobab trees that dotted the African landscape. They were inseparable, their hearts intertwined in a dance as old as time itself. But Adaeze, trapped in the realm between the living and the dead, could not rest. Her spirit wandered through the ethereal realms, her heart heavy with unresolved emotions. She had loved Obinna with a passion that transcended mortal boundaries, and now, seeing him move on with Ebere, a tumultuous storm raged within her soul. One fateful night, as Obinna and Ebere stood before the altar of St. Mary's Cathedral, ready to exchange vows and pledge their lives to each other, Adaeze's spirit materialized in a swirl of mist and moonlight. Her form was translucent, her eyes blazing with a fierce intensity that sent shivers down the spines of those who witnessed her spectral presence. The congregation gasped in horror as Adaeze's voice echoed through the hallowed halls of the cathedral, her words laced with a sorrow that pierced the very hearts of those who heard her. "Obinna," she cried out, her voice trembling with anguish. "Do not forsake me, my love. I am bound to you for all eternity." Obinna's heart constricted with guilt and sorrow as he beheld Adaeze's spirit before him. Memories of their love flooded his mind like a river overflowing its banks, threatening to drown him in a sea of regret. "Ebere," he turned to his beloved, his voice choked with emotion. "Forgive me, but I cannot go through with this. Adaeze, she needs me." Ebere, her own heart breaking into 1,000 pieces, nodded silently, her eyes filled with tears that reflected the pain of a love that could never be. She knew that Obinna's heart belonged to another, a love that transcended the boundaries of life and death. And so, Obinna took Adaeze's ethereal hand in his own, his heart heavy with sorrow yet filled with a sense of duty to the woman he had vowed to love for all eternity. In the days that followed Adaeze's return, the city of Lagos buzzed with whispers of the supernatural. Rumors spread like wildfire through the labyrinthine streets, tales of a vengeful spirit who had returned from beyond the grave to reclaim her beloved. But amidst the fear and uncertainty, there were those who believed in the power of love to transcend even death itself. Obinna sought the guidance of Father Okeke, the wise old priest who had baptized him as a child and had watched him grow into the man he had become. Father Okeke listened with a solemn expression as Obinna recounted the events that had led to Adaeze's return, his voice filled with a mixture of guilt and longing. Father Okeke, with his weathered face illuminated by the flickering candlelight in his modest rectory, listened intently, his eyes reflecting the depths of Obinna's turmoil. "My son," Father Okeke spoke softly, his voice a soothing balm to Obinna's troubled soul, "you are caught between two worlds, the world of the living and the world of the spirits. Adaeze's spirit is bound to you by a love so strong that not even death can sever its ties." Obinna hung his head, overcome with guilt for betraying Ebere and torn by his undying love for Adaeze. "Father, what should I do? How can I make things right?" Father Okeke placed a comforting hand on Obinna's shoulder, his touch firm yet gentle. "You must confront Adaeze's spirit, my son. Seek her out, speak to her heart, and find a way to bring peace to her restless soul. Only then can you find solace in the path that lies ahead. With Father Okeke's words echoing in his mind like a mantra, Obinna set out to find Adaeze's spirit. He ventured to the places where they had once shared their happiest moments, the cafe where they first met, the shores of Bar Beach where tragedy had struck, and the silk cotton tree where he had proposed to her beneath the African sunset. Each night, under the watchful gaze of the moon and the twinkling stars, Obinna called out to Adaeze's spirit, his voice filled with a desperate longing to bridge the divide between their worlds. He pleaded with her to find peace, to release him from the chains of guilt that bound his heart. And one fateful night, as the city of Lagos slumbered beneath a blanket of darkness, Adaeze's spirit appeared before him once more. Her form shimmered like moonlight on the surface of a tranquil lake, her eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and love that tugged at Obinna's soul. "Adaeze," Obinna whispered, his voice trembling with emotion as he reached out to her ethereal form. "I am so sorry. Sorry for failing you, for betraying our love." Adaeze's spirit hovered before him, her presence a haunting reminder of the love they had once shared. "Obinna," she spoke with a voice as soft as the evening breeze, "my heart breaks to see you in pain. But I cannot rest until I know that you have found happiness, that you have found love once more." Tears streamed down Obinna's cheeks as he poured out his heart to Adaeze's spirit, recounting the depth of his love for her and the guilt that had consumed him since her passing. "I love you, Adaeze," he whispered, his voice barely a breath as he searched her eyes for forgiveness. Adaeze's spirit reached out and caressed his cheek with a touch as gentle as a feather's kiss. "Obinna, my love," she spoke with a voice filled with an otherworldly grace, "I release you from your promise. Go, embrace the future that awaits you. Find happiness with Ebere, for she is a woman of courage and kindness." Obinna's heart swelled with gratitude and sorrow as he watched Adaeze's spirit fade into the night, her presence lingering like a whisper on the wind. He knew that he would carry her love in his heart always, a beacon of light to guide him through the trials and tribulations of life. With a heavy yet determined heart, Obinna sought out Ebere the following morning. He found her in the garden of her family's estate, tending to the vibrant blooms that adorned the pathways like a tapestry woven from the colors of the African sunset. "Ebere," Obinna spoke softly, his voice filled with a mixture of sorrow and hope as he approached her. "I must speak with you." Ebere turned to face him, her eyes searching his face for answers. She saw the turmoil etched in the lines of his brow, the weight of his grief reflected in the depths of his eyes. "Obinna," she whispered, her voice barely a breath as she reached out to touch his hand. "I have spoken with Adaeze's spirit," Obinna began, his voice steady yet filled with an underlying tremor of emotion. "She has released me from our bond, from the promise we made so long ago." Ebere's heart clenched with a mixture of sadness and understanding as she listened to Obinna's words. She had always known that his heart belonged to Adaeze, that their love transcended the boundaries of life and death. And yet, she had hoped against hope that he could find happiness with her, that they could forge a future together despite the shadows of the past. "Obinna," Ebere spoke with a voice filled with quiet strength, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I have loved you for as long as I can remember. But I cannot ask you to choose between me and Adaeze's memory. She was a part of you long before I came into your life." Obinna took Ebere's hands in his own, his touch gentle yet filled with gratitude for her understanding. "Ebere, you have shown me kindness and compassion beyond measure. You have been my anchor in the storm, my light in the darkness. I will always cherish the love we shared." And so, with tears streaming down their cheeks, Obinna and Ebere embraced one final time beneath the African sun. They knew that their paths would diverge, that their lives would take them on separate journeys filled with joy and sorrow, laughter and tears. But they also knew that love, in all its forms, would forever bind them together in a tapestry woven from the threads of their shared memories. Months passed, and the city of Lagos buzzed with anticipation as Obinna and Ebere prepared to celebrate their union in a joyous ceremony that would bring together friends and family from near and far. St. Mary's Cathedral, where their love story had taken a tumultuous turn, stood resplendent beneath the azure skies, its bells ringing out a melody of hope and renewal. As Obinna stood at the altar, his heart filled with a mixture of nervousness and anticipation, he glanced out at the faces of their loved ones gathered before him. His gaze fell upon Father Okeke, whose wise eyes twinkled with a knowing understanding of the journey that had brought them to this moment. And then, as if on cue, Ebere appeared at the entrance of the cathedral, her radiant beauty taking Obinna's breath away. She walked down the aisle with a grace that spoke of inner strength and resilience, her eyes locked on his with a love so deep it stirred his soul. As they exchanged vows beneath the watchful gaze of the heavens above, Obinna felt a sense of peace settle over him. He knew that Adaeze's spirit watched over them from the ethereal realms, her presence a silent blessing on their union. And then, as they sealed their love with a kiss that spoke of promises made and futures intertwined, the cathedral filled with the joyful cheers and applause of their loved ones. Obinna and Ebere emerged hand in hand, their hearts overflowing with gratitude for the love and support that surrounded them. In the days that followed their wedding, Obinna and Ebere visited the silk cotton tree where Obinna had proposed to Adaeze so long ago. They stood beneath its sprawling branches, the air fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. Adaeze, Obinna spoke softly, his voice carrying across the quiet clearing beneath the tree. I hope that you have found peace, wherever your spirit may roam. And then, as if in answer to his words, a gentle breeze swept through the clearing, its touch as soft as a lover's caress. Obinna felt a sense of warmth and tranquility wash over him, a silent affirmation that Adaeze's spirit had found the peace she had sought for so long. Ebere placed a hand on Obinna's shoulder, her touch a silent gesture of support and understanding. Together, they stood beneath the silk cotton tree, their hearts united in a bond that transcended the boundaries of life and death. Years passed, and Obinna and Ebere's love endured through the trials and tribulations of life. They built a life together filled with laughter and shared dreams, their days blending into a tapestry of joy and contentment. Obinna never forgot Adaeze, the woman who had captured his heart so completely and had taught him the true meaning of love and sacrifice. Her memory lived on in the stories he told their children, in the laughter that echoed through their home, in the quiet moments when he gazed at the stars and felt her presence among them. And so, as the sun set over the city of Lagos, casting its golden glow across the horizon, Obinna and Ebere stood hand in hand, their hearts intertwined like the roots of an ancient baobab tree. They knew that their love would endure through the ages, a testament to the power of love to conquer even the darkest of shadows. And somewhere, in the realm between the living and the dead, Adaeze's spirit watched over them with eyes filled with a love that transcended time and space.